press play. There you go. Yeah.
There, I just did that. What a great tip.
Yeah. Yeah. It's helpful for me.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is it's 12:57. I'll go ahead and broadcast. So no more personal chit chat, even though I enjoy those kind of talks.
Yeah, me too.
And then we'll just wait in limbo for the seats to fill up and we'll do a hard 1 o'clock start.
Nice. Okay.
Okay. Okay, it'll be a good hour.
Yeah, for sure. Have a good time.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to EAPO's webinar today. We'll be getting started in about 1 minute's time. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Resolving Elder Abuse and Family Conflicts through Elder Mediation. We're so excited and thrilled that you've joined us today, and we're thrilled that we're able to offer ASL for today's webinar. So this is the first webinar out of a series of webinars that we will be focusing on elder mediation. So I encourage everyone to join us next Thursday for part 2 of elder mediation. Just a few minor housekeeping items before we launch into Marianne's presentation. So all attendees during the webinar are automatically muted. ASL interpreters are available, and you can see their video on your screen. You can make their video larger if you drag the screen left to right to make their image larger if needed. And then, of course, we record all of our webinars, and they will be available on our website within a few business days. So of course, our speaker, we feel it's really important to make sure our speakers are visible. So our keynote speaker is Marianne. She will be visible during the whole presentation. And we are leaving about 15 minutes for Q&A. It's really important that your questions and answers are addressed during the webinar. So I encourage you through the Q&A chat box to ask your questions, and we will be asking Marianne, our subject matter expert, those questions at the end of the webinar. And then, of course, please use the chat box for chats, not Q&A. I'll have a hard time tracking your questions if they're in the chat box versus the Q&A. And then, of course, evaluation, it will automatically pop up at the end of the webinar today. So we really encourage you to fill out the evaluation. This is how we are able to get the feedback on the webinars that we provide for you. So there was a lot of feedback in the spring around the need for the series of elder mediation. So we're bringing this to you because this is what our viewers and our followers really wanted. I do want to start today's session with a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we gather on the traditional territory of a number of First Nations and acknowledge their stewardship of this land throughout the ages. We truly seek a new relationship with the original peoples of this land, one that is based in honor and deep respect. May-wich. So this is a webinar flow for today. So of course, we're going to be going through our opening remarks. I'm going to jump in and just talk a little bit about Elder Abuse Prevention Ontario. And then of course, Mary Ann's going to provide us an in-depth presentation on defining what elder mediation is, the new Elder Mediation Pilot Project, which is really exciting, becoming an elder mediator, elder mediation as an alternative to legal actions, and then our much desired Q&A portion. We can't leave you without giving you valuable resources. And then of course, upcoming webinars, because we're gonna be busy throughout the fall and winter, providing great webinars for everyone. So a little bit about who we are. We are a nonprofit organization. I think everyone online today can agree with our mission. We simply envision an Ontario where all seniors are free from abuse and have a strong voice, feel safe and respected. And the ways that we do that is what I'm doing today, is public awareness, training of frontline service providers, and collaborating and advocating with our local elder abuse networks across the province. I encourage you to follow us on social media. You can see our hashtags and Twitter symbols. You can tell I'm not a social media person, but please follow us. I encourage you to do that. Well, without further ado, I am thrilled to introduce Mary Ann. She is the executive director of the association, the Ontario Association of Family Mediation. You can see Mary Ann's bio here. I will not read it all to you, but I want to pull out a few key pieces of it. That she has been ED of OAFM since 2015. She is an accredited family and elder mediator and child protection mediator within a private practice. She is very astute on this topic. So let's just jump right into Mary Ann's presentation and enjoy the rest of the learnings today.
Thank you, Laura. I'm just going to share my slides here. And hang on, I'm just going to get to slideshow and play from current. Here we go. All right, welcome. It's my pleasure to be here for Elder Abuse Prevention Ontario, and thank you for the wonderful introduction, Laura. OAFM and EAPO have worked together for many years, and it's wonderful to be connecting with you in the virtual world now, and looking forward to one day when we're all together again in a room. So I'll jump right in. I want to give you, as best I can, an overview of elder mediation and a tiny little bit about the mediation process as well. I'll start by saying that the term elder mediation, the name for it, is something that OAFM is having a lengthy discussions about a potential name change. So we are looking at that. So I'm going to use the term elder mediation, and with great respect and I guess work towards truth and reconciliation. We are looking to remove the word elder and replace it with something that is more representative of, one, the work we do, and one that is more potentially respectful of the Indigenous families that we serve in Ontario. So elder mediation is defined as a process where challenges arise across generations. So we have, intergenerational family disputes, things like where there's concerns about, a parent having early onset dementia, for example, showing signs of that, and one sibling is saying, no, that's not the case. And, I don't want you to take our parent to the doctor, and don't you dare say something like that to the family doctor. What if they lose their license? What are the risks involved with us sort of going down that path. And that's sort of a very basic example of where elder mediation would step in and focus on the underlying issues with a family and try to help them to have excellent conversations about things that affect their daily lives, affect the choices they may make for their parents or for themselves. So that's a general overview. I wanted to give a little slide about what is mediation, right? So one of the nicest things I like to say about it is it's just this neutral person. So I get to be a neutral person in a room of family members who are hurting and worried and frustrated, and have concerns and genuine fear for what may happen in the future. And being neutral, it allows a family to have the space to make a plan to move forward. So mediators, all mediators, and elder mediators included, are trained in negotiation, conflict resolution, very importantly, screening for domestic violence and power imbalance and family dynamics. Now, I won't spend too much time on domestic violence and how important it is to OAFM that all family mediators through all types of mediation, elder mediation absolutely included, are screening each time they are meeting with clients. So screening for family violence or power imbalance is something that happens dynamically throughout the process. It is not a one tool that we use to assess at one stage of the process. We may use a tool, and we may also and are required to screen at all times. So I want to make that clear about the importance of domestic violence screening, and that the awareness and how your work and our work really intersects there at ensuring safety of all family members. So mediators come from a variety of backgrounds, and some of you listening today may be working primarily in with senior services or with elder services. And that is a great chunk of our membership, comes from nursing, healthcare, long-term care, Behavioral Supports Ontario, these sorts of organizations that people have a lot of experience working with families across the lifespan. And so there's a great proportion of mediators who will come that are have your type of background. And you may also in the audience be lawyers, social workers, financial professionals, counselors, etc. So there's a really wide variety of people who can become mediators. And one of the key focuses, sorry, it's garbage day, I don't know if you can hear that. One of the key focuses is on the mediators having some work experience with families facing changes, conflict, worry, and dispute. So another nice part about mediation that's not on this slide is it's voluntary, right? It's I had a client last night was thinking about, they weren't sure about the process, and an invitation to reassess, do they want to be in this process? Is this something that feels comfortable for them and the family at the time? So it's purely family led. It's forward focused, it's solution focused. So I just wanted to give you a quick overview there. This slide I put in because I think if you remember anything from this presentation about mediation and elder mediation being no different, is that we look for, I call this my unhappy baby slide. And we can imagine, this baby is in what I think might be a beautiful setting, right? And it's sunny and he's on a nice warm blanket. But something's happened why this baby is not feeling happy with the circumstances. Is there a bee or something kind of bothering him? Has he had a toy taken away? Did his favorite caregiver leave? What happened? What's the reasonable explanation for this baby to be giving this wonderful frown to express his emotions to us? And how do we uncover that as elder mediators to have a look? So I wanted to include that slide because I really think it's one of the key components when I think of approaching mediation. So when would you think mediation would be useful? And I wanted to give a sense of, if you've got a case or you're thinking of something in your own family or one of your friends or relatives, we have to think about, okay, when would it be a good idea to think about using a family mediator? And these are some of the key components to when mediation would be useful. And so where there's an existing relationship that will be maintained, mediation can really help to strengthen the ties of the family and to gain insight and understanding to each other that will allow for relationships to continue. So there's a lot of stock in the participants' minds that, hey, I really would like to have this resolved. It's important to me that it's going to be resolved. Another area is when community health is important, right? So where we're thinking about long-term care homes where there could be conflict around, something happening at mealtime or something where the community is affected by a conflict behavior or a difficulty that they're all facing. Where there's risk, right, if the present situation continues. And this is probably quite controversial when we're thinking about the use of mediation over legal intervention when there's risk involved. And I would say to you that, mediators work alongside the law, right? And mediators know the law, both in, Family Law, Divorce Act, Moving Families Forward Act, and also, the laws that relate to older adults, so wills and estates and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of knowledge, and there's that risk, right? That some legal rights could be at risk of having some difficulty. So mediators are actually very useful in this situation where there's risk, alongside legal appropriate interventions as needed. So I think that for me is an important distinction for us, because when we think of elder mediation, often legal issues come up, right? Who has power of attorney for personal care? Who has it for property? What did the will just get changed? What happened? Does someone have capacity to be at a mediation table? And so these things are all evaluated by mediators, and the mediation process can hold and manage a lot of these really complex needs of families. Or mediation is helpful where the participants wish to change, right? Yesterday, someone called and they recognized the relationship. They live with their daughter and son-in-law. They have grandchildren there. They recognized just recently that, that they've kind of been mean, right? They've had, and they've been a little angry. Their partner died, and they want to change. They want to sort of reset with their family and have another chance at starting a new interaction pattern. So this is a useful case for elder mediation to step in, a mediator who knows the nuances of family dynamics, hurt, triggers, and are able to sort of uncover and move forward with the family. And when people want to be heard, right? When people, and in this case yesterday, when the woman called me, she wants a chance for her family to say, like, hey, I want to try again. And I'll tell you more about the Elder Mediation Pilot Project in a minute. I might have given a little clue here. Intergenerational multi-party family mediation. So I wanted to say, this may be a name that where OAFM is considering. It may not be, but we'll see what ends up happening. The idea of the client. So in traditional family mediation or consumer mediation, you may have a smaller number of people attending the mediation. And in multi-party intergenerational family mediation, you could have a large group, right? You could have siblings, step siblings, parents, step parents, all of these people who come into the room. So it's a much different type of mediation because you're trying to balance the needs of an entire family, often at once. So often elder mediation can be a group of 8 or 10 people in a room or on Zoom now, trying to resolve a conflict. What's the focus of elder mediation, right? So starting at the top left, it promotes the optimum regard for the older person at its center. This is too a little bit controversial, right? Because why are we focusing so much on the older person? And at the same time, how do we provide the due respect and the process to assist the older person to move forward, right? And so when as we're sort of moving along the elder mediation career path and development, we sort of look at the second step, which is on the right side of your screen, about strengthening family identity, and really helping the family pick out what's good about them, how they want to move forward with these good strengths, because each family has strengths. Each individual has the ability to locate and understand the strengths that they have. It's a matter of bringing that out, working on it together, and seeing where the family would like to develop and evolve. And then moving towards the bottom right of your screen, maintaining respectful relationships, right? Where we're trying to sort out what feels respectful to all of the family members. It could be different too, couldn't it? You know, when you've got a family and, you know, there's that many people, if we look at this page, like, could there be differences on how they feel respected or loved or cared for or heard? And so we need to think about balancing that, about helping people negotiate respectful relationships, and providing care for the older person in the family or non-family caregiver. So we're bringing in here a little bit, a little hint to that there could be members outside the family too that are important to the mediation, where there's carers, where there are friends who are on the outside maybe of the family, and oftentimes we think about, you know, like who's not here that should be here, and how do we sort of make that conversation holistic so that the family feels the support and that there's unity between say maybe a non-family caregiver and a family caregiver if they're sharing those roles. So issues that families face, that, and this is just a kind of a snapshot of, like, you know, hey, you're thinking of making a referral for family mediation, or you're thinking of being a family mediator yourself. What are the types of issues that families face? The safety issues, sort of number one there. Care for the caregivers. Now, this is, we know that caregivers often predecease the person they're caring for because of the unbelievable stress and lack of self-care that they are able to embark on because of the strenuous nature of caring for someone full time. And so we do focus in elder mediation on the older adult at the center of the discussion. And we also look all around and have a really broad look at who's caring for this person and how are they managing, and how can we help to them to navigate this. Housing, this is a key issue, right? So think of your home right now, like where you live. Either it's an apartment, your townhouse, house, you've had it for years, you've had it for 6 months, all your stuff is there. And what if someone had a feeling of what you should do, right, with that house? Oh, you actually have to move out. When we think about the conflict, and if we go back to unhappy baby slide, a few slides back, if I told you you had to sell your house or you had to go into a home, you were my sibling, parent, or cousin, you may be very upset, and I would have to have a space to have conversation about a very emotional issue that could seem financial, couldn't it? So it could seem that housing and the sale of the family home, if we're looking at it black and white numbers, we need the money, we need to fund the long-term care or the retirement home, private home. So this just has to happen. And so that can be a very strong reason for family mediation to come into play, and a real trigger for conflict. Financial issues themselves, just bold, right? Just like idea of the will being changed, or children having to provide financial support for their parents. These are also triggering issues that many families face as they try to navigate towards the end of life with their family. Second marriages, my goodness, right? This is also the bread and butter of elder mediators work, where that there could be a second family that was created from the marriage, and the first family and the second family, the sibling rivalry, the distrust, the difficulties that families face when they're trying to figure out how to be a family, especially when there's a crisis, a health crisis, a financial crisis. They need to figure out how to band together. They're the best ones, really, who are able generally to help a family to move forward and thrive. Holiday schedules, right? This is could be like, where's the parent going to go at a certain holiday that's important to the family, and so on. So these are some of the examples of issues that families face that are useful for, lost my cursor, but I will find it again. Oh, it popped back. Okay. That sort of common in family mediation. So let's talk for a minute about potential outcomes, right? So this is, I kind of love this slide, right? They're thinking about like this slide I've used also for strengthening family identity. And it's sort of like here we all are, and here's the family, and where's our identity as a family? Like where do we find ourselves on the tree? Where do we feel good about the fact that we are a family? And mediation can really nurture and support the family to find that identity, and be able to move forward in a way that they hadn't imagined before. Mediation can like revitalize existing relationships. So one example of that, just quickly, is a mediation that I did with it turned out to be siblings. It started with one person, right? And we think of multi-party, but it started with one sister who approached us for elder mediation. We did a co-mediation with my mentor and colleague now, Barbara Lando, many years ago. And this family, I'll always remember her. She wanted to have a relationship with her children. And she ended up, so that what had happened is there was sexual abuse when she was a child. Her father, unfortunately, sexually abused her. Her younger sister, she had split from a long time ago. And I'll tell you why in a minute. So she wanted to bring her children in to the mediation. And her children refused. Her children didn't want to be part of the mediation. And some of you may think, okay, well then how can you have a mediation with no clients? There's only one person there. And what we did was we talked to the sister who did come in and approached us about steps she could take to show how strong she had become. She had really took ownership of, she exposed her children, unfortunately, to sexual abuse by her father. She was a survivor herself. And she started to take some steps to look very appropriate and strong on Facebook, of all things. So a media platform allowed her to show who she was to her family. They were still her friends. And her sister eventually reached out, her younger sister. And so what was really interesting is this sister had felt that she, over the course of years, had that she had been ostracized by our client. And we had this wonderful conversation. And what it was we thought, and we deepened, and we uncovered, and we recognized, or we allowed them to have the conversation. The sister who came to us, who was abused by her father, her younger sibling, she had blamed her for the sexual abuse all these years, even though this sibling was years younger than her. And so when that was surfaced, and when they were able to talk and heal, and understand that this pain was there, and of course the younger sibling could not have helped or prevented this from happening, they were able to have a conversation, and they strengthened their relationship. And it was such a wonderful outcome. She didn't get everything she was looking for, but she got one relationship that now exists. And to this day, I have updates from her, and her sister go on holidays together. Her sister's husband has embraced her as well. And this allowing for conversation has created a healthy relationship in this family. And who knows what the future brings? We don't know. Maybe one day this would bring her children back into her life, but that's up to them. And so when you think of the creativity, right, we did this through Facebook. And I think Laura had spoken earlier at the beginning about she's not a social media person. I'm not either. I do recognize there is this strength and power that we can have this very creative solution. So that's something that mediation can do. So there's a few other things on the slide there, but I'll just leave you with that example. Okay, so I want to tell you about the Elder Mediation Pilot Project. I've got, we have about 15 minutes left. So this is the OAFM really wants to promote the use of elder mediation. And one of the things I hear as the ED is that there's a real struggle in who's going to pay for elder mediation, and why isn't it covered by the province somehow? And family mediation there's a ministry funded court connected family mediation service that's largely used for divorce and separation. It actually too can be accessed for elder mediation. And now this program is a pilot where families in Ontario are allowed to have 10 hours per family at no cost. There's no eligibility criteria. It's all the only qualifying piece is that it has to be intergenerational. There has to be conflict in the family that crosses the lifespan. So if there's any, I think I put the contact information in here. Oh, this is a flyer you can share this with the public. If you want all of this afterwards, I can send it to Laura and she can send it out, or she's got the slide deck, so she can send this to you. So this is talking about these 10 free hours of services. We're aiming to gather data. So a data analysis at the end. So participating in a survey is something that we're looking for the families to do, because our goal is to canvass and lobby the government to provide funding for elder mediation services. And so this is really exciting. This project is very close to my heart. We have 20 files open, we have 20 files available, 6 have been used. So there's lots of scope for families to come in and use these services. So if you have any family, please send them to us and we will see if we can help them, because it's a terrific opportunity both for the families and for OAFM to gather data on how successful the use of elder mediation is to prevent conflict, to decrease cost, really, decrease stress on other resources when the family can band together. These are just the languages spoken of the program. We hope to add more languages soon. Let's go to the next. Here's the contact information. You can have a look there, and you'll get the slides, so you can have that. I wanted to talk for a second about the insight approach, because the entire elder mediation curriculum written by the chair of elder mediation and my dear friend and colleague Elizabeth Sterrett, she wrote this curriculum using the insight approach. At the time when I started taking, 2015, I became ED. That same year, we started developing the elder mediation curriculum. And I was a mediator for a long time already at that point, I think about 10 years. And so I hadn't really thought, I hadn't thought this would bring me any additional skill. And I can tell you this insight approach is something that is changed my interactions with family, friends, and as a mediator, right? So this is the key component or the key teaching model of elder mediation. So the mediator and using the insight approach helps people in conflict talk about what matters to them, right? And how they perceive to be threatened by what matters to others, right? And the goal is for people to, it's really an education type of mediation, where it's insight into cares and threats, and delinking, I'll give you a little tiny example that's not related to elder, but I got a puppy, a pandemic puppy, and she had the surgery to be spayed. And I was busy and I wanted my husband to walk her. And he said, oh, she was sleeping, so I didn't walk her. And then later, he was taking her to go for a walk or something. And I noticed the next day, before he picked her up, he said some things like, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't want to bother you. Like, I'm so scared. I don't want to hurt you. And so what did I gain into my husband's behavior? The day before, I thought he was maybe being lazy and not helpful. Sorry to my husband, who I love dearly. But the second day, I had insight into what he was actually really worried about. He didn't want to hurt our puppy. He was worried about picking her up, and because we have stairs and she couldn't do the stairs according to the vet. So I de-linked the mistake that I made, that he just didn't want to take her, to a deeper understanding that he really cared about our dog and he wanted not to hurt her, which gave me this new insight into his behavior, and so he wasn't in trouble anymore. Key component. Okay, I'm not going to ask for a volunteer because I know there's lots and lots of people out there, but I want you to do this in your head. You don't have to say anything. And I just want us to take a minute, and I'm going to give a tiny bit of silence. So I'll prep us with that. And I'm just going to show you the difference. This will take us 3 minutes of the insight approach. So take one. I'm going to ask you to think about something that really bothered you. It was like something that was horrible that happened to you that you just were very upset about. And I'm going to ask you the question, and I want you to think about it just in the next minute. Why are you upset? Okay, hopefully you've had enough time to think about why you're upset. Okay, so now I'm going to ask a question that's more commonly used in insight. And what we're doing is we're focusing a little, well, actually, I shouldn't give it away. I'll just ask you the question again. So I want you to think about the same situation, and I'm going to give you a minute to think about it. And I'm going to say something like, I hear you that this happened. What do you hope will happen in the future? Okay. So hopefully you had enough time to think about that, and to sort of think about the idea that the second question gave you, I wish I could talk to you all, but the second question, I hope, gave you a connection to what were some potential outcomes that you wanted to look for? What were some things that you were looking forward to being different in the future? If it could be better, what would it look like? If this person could, regain your trust, what behaviors would they show to you tomorrow? And so this is a demonstration really of the insight approach, focusing on future, and really mediation is a future focused. If we think back to our first slide, it's a future focused process where you're really taking the person out of their current mindset and into the problem solving mindset. And this is a very powerful tool. And interestingly enough, it's, do you know why or have you ever, when you go on a vacation, do you ever look at your wardrobe and think, I am going to take that dress or that skirt or that suit, because you think it's just going to be awesome on vacation? I do it, and I learned why we do that. And it really feeds into elder mediation and all mediation, because why we do that is the same synapses in our brain are set off, highlighted, lit up when we think of ourselves in the future as if we think of a stranger. So I'm not going on holidays as Marianne. I'm going on holidays as Marianne, who's lost 10 pounds, and that skirt feels super comfy. And so that's this is so powerful, because when you think of yourself in the future, you disconnect from the weighing down of the past. And so this is why our innate hope and our innate sort of openness for the future is why this works. So I hope you found that useful. I think it's kind of neat. Okay, so OAFM developed the program, I think Laura told you, in 2015. OAFM we have the child protection mediation roster with the ministry, and we have family mediation, which is mostly divorce and separation. And then we thought, we're really missing a piece here. And so we've got sort of the whole lifespan now covered. So from birth to passing. And so this vision of having mediators especially trained in issues that affect older families, older adults, was something that the OAFM developed this new designation for, called Accredited Elder Mediator. So training is 3 weeks. If you're here and you've got a sort of a diverse background in caring for adults, in behavior supports, in social work, and those pieces, and you're not interested in separation and divorce, there's a whole different pathway for you. It's the same training, but there's a pathway for accreditation that's a little different, and we can talk about that. And I invite you to contact me if you're interested at all. And so we've relied heavily, as you can see, on insight mediation developed by Cheryl Picard. Here's the topics. You can look at the positive aging. You can see on the left side of your screen. Very important to, we really do focus on positive aging and, really honoring family members across the lifespan, regardless of age, right? So everyone is included and involved in the role play. Sorry, not in the role play, just read that. In the mediation, regardless of their age or capacity. And if there's no capacity for the person to participate, we still want to meet that person. We always say, we'll meet and just say hello and offer just information to them and a smile and shaking their hand if they would like that. So just to connect with the older person is very important. I'll just talk a minute about elder abuse and thinking about, this is also an insight approach to listen to what he says, but rather what he does not say, right? So we're sort of thinking about really making sure that we have this emphasis on appropriate ongoing screening and listening and making sure that we catch things as mediators to think of safety of all family members at the same time. I started this slide there because I wanted to think about use of elder mediation as prevention, right? One, the It's Not Right presentation that you have made, there's a really powerful video in it. And one of the things that I really noticed was there was a son who had moved in with his mom. Eventually the mom moved down into the basement. The mom was confused, cold, felt disenfranchised and sort of pushed aside. And what was really interesting was to look at, encouraging early conversation and helping the family to identify what's happening, what they're doing to their parent. And I think in that video that It's Not Right produced, it really showed that son may not have even had insight or seen the risks of having his mom be in the basement. And so the elder mediation as prevention is something that we focus on in terms of just helping people have conversations, even for planning, right? Even for how, if you're going to move in. I have a client right now with separation and divorce. He's going to have his parents move in with them, with him and the children. And, we talked about having conversations with the whole family to think about the teen relations with the grandparents, and sort of thinking about, preventing of harm or even neglect, right? How do we think about this grandparent and grandparents moving into this home where, mom is not there anymore, and now they have to renegotiate things. So early conversation is good. The benefits. So I think we're getting to our last slides. I think I'm right. Yeah, I'm close on time. So being creative, complex issues, and thinking about taking a fresh approach, not limiting ourselves to what the law says, But limit, like just expanding us to like, how do you live in your everyday life, right? And I remember in my office that I used to mediate in, it was really good because there was a window. There's a window here beside me, but there's when I was sitting, there was always this window here. It was very easy for me to look out the window. And I always remember like just glancing out the window with every family I had in my office and thinking they're leaving and they need to learn how to be in the world and do well without me ever being involved again. So how do I help them be as creative as they can so that they're self-sufficient? And that really, the job of an elder mediator and a mediator is to not have repeat customers. You could have referrals, but never to have a repeat customer, because you don't want the family to have to face another dilemma. You want the family to grow and to be strong and have that sense of identity that the next issue that comes along, they can face that together. So really reframing our understanding of what family mediation is, and that this is a process that can include things like coaching, like how just like that, my first client in elder mediation, like how to show yourself to be a good, solid, strong person so that your family may come out and reach out to you or may be willing to your overtures of invitation. So it's very interesting, very different than the classical standard sort of family mediation. It's cost effective, right? Where, family members right now with the EMPP, the 10 hours of free services, it's never been as cost effective. And when you think of a lawyer's rate, right, an hourly rate for a lawyer and a mediator's rates are often lower, much lower than lawyers' hourly rates. And they're also can be shared across the family, right? So you could have a family that, there's 10 family members and they can share these, hourly rate of $250 an hour across 10 people. Each person could pay $25 an hour, for example. So it's really, I'm going to just quickly go through because I know it's 1:45. So easy to partner with existing programs and services, right? So you look locally at, when you're an elder mediator, trying to create like a body of support around you of services that can help the family. And I will stop share there. I'm going to be on time. There we go. Excellent.
Thank you so much, Marianne.
Thanks.
That was very insightful. So what I'm going to do is we're getting a lot of questions in regards to mediation, and I'm going to pass the torch to my colleague, Marta, to take the lead on just pulling out some of the themes of the questions that we're getting. While we're doing that, I'm just going to reshare my screen because after the Q&A, there is some resources and upcoming webinars that I do want to take the time to discuss. Okay, Marta, are you there with us?
I am there, just having
wonderful.
Hi, Marta.
Hi, Marianne, and thank you again for sharing your time and all this invaluable information. We've certainly been through a roller coaster year, and I think it's very reassuring for the participants on our webinar and those that engage with you more routinely that OAFM exists and that there are these kinds of resources to help navigate some of the difficult conversations within families that are happening.
Sure. My pleasure.
So if I may, the first question is, do you have any strategies that would introduce mediation into long-term care environments? There often are conflicts between residents, between families and staff. Would OAFM be involved in something like this? Or is there an opportunity to sort of bridge that relationship within the long-term care environments and OAFM?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And so the organization itself what we've done is we've trained elder mediators. We have about 37 active elder mediators in the province, and we meet with them regularly. And what we're doing, and I hope that it's working, and I know we need to do more, is we're asking those mediators to connect locally. So we've heard of a lot, and we're providing presentations and any support that they need to go out into the community as elder mediators to reach out to long-term care homes, retirement homes, all sorts of organizations. There's no shortage of list of places that you could connect with as an elder mediator to promote your practice locally. And so that's worked to a certain extent, but it has not had the uptake that I want it to. So that's why this pilot project has been launched, right? So that we can say, like, yeah, and we've sent that poster to like hundreds of organizations, and I've done a lot of presentations on the pilot, so it can get used. And I think that it's not being used as much as I expected. I thought we'd run out of money in cases by the end of the year. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. And so I, like, even being here today to say, spread the word. I will come and speak anywhere, to any long-term care home, to introduce the topic. If you're just thinking of yourself, like, how would you approach that discussion in a long-term care home? I would say, there are people who have special training to help families have conversations that are difficult, and they're called elder mediators, and look on the site and connect with the one that's local to you. You can call me anytime, to my email is, you can reach me through that. My email's director@OAFM. The admin one will eventually get to me as well, and we have a support staff. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question.
That's great, thank you. So one of the other questions, Marianne, was, at the completion of this pilot project, will you be sharing the outcomes, any survey data or any learnings with the wider community?
That's the goal. So that's the goal. We have support staff that has a lot of expertise in research and presenting findings. So that's what we'd like to do, is show how effective it is. Now the Ottawa Champlain LIN, now I know the LIN has changed to something else. I don't know the name now. They have a elder mediation project that's ongoing as part of their funding, and they have proven efficacy. So there's some data already for us there. And yes, absolutely, the OAFM will share broadly the results. We want to be able to show its effectiveness in the community.
So there's quite a few comments that we've been receiving. Is that, how does one become an elder mediator?
Yes. So I actually invite you, I just got an email this morning. Someone asked that question. I can send you the policy, right? There's this, like, it's actually quite convoluted, but what we tried to do is create a pathway for someone who does not want to do divorce and separation, is just interested in doing elder mediation. So it's quite complex. So I would invite you to send me an email, and we'll set up a time for us to talk, and I can think about your personal experience, your work experience, and we can together sort out what the next steps would be, because it's a little bit convoluted, even though we tried to make it really simple. The main answer is there are 120 hours of training, and that slide I showed you of all those hours, it's 3 weeks. Usually it's in days of 5 chunks. They're 5-day chunks. And right now, OAFM is the only one offering the training in Ontario. We are not an organization that does training as a regular thing. So we're trying to get someone else to take on the training, but right now it's us.
Great.
Yeah.
So there's a number of issues and concerns, and I think this is already opening the door for us to invite you back to address some of these questions in greater detail.
Yeah.
But there are a couple that sort of stuck out in my mind. So how can elder mediation be helpful when a family member or an adult child have significant mental health challenges, and they perhaps lack the awareness or deny that their behavior is anyway contributing to the problem?
That's a very common question. And so the answer to that is probably going to be more complex and need more of a deeper dive than what I'm going to say. There's always, I'm very optimistic when it comes to family mediation, to elder mediation. There's sets of skills and tools that mediators can use. And one of them can be useful in some mental health challenges, which is Bill Eddy's work on high conflict personalities, right? So there are ways that we are able to engage with people who lack the ability to have insight into the impact. And in some cases where the mental illness is more mild, there is a very patient, empathetic attention, respect using Bill Eddy's ear method, where you can actually move towards some understanding. The other thing that families can do is work around the person with a mental health challenge and strengthen their own family relationships and ties, and work on self-care as a family around the person who has the mental health challenge. So it's, I would say, a multi-pronged approach, and the use of tools, appropriate use of tools, is something mediators are trained to do. And that is what we would do.
Well, we have several comments where people are interested in entering the field. So I'm sure with the contact information that you have provided, that it becomes a touch point for people to reach out to you and see if they can be engaged in the great work that you're doing. For those participants who have been asking about availability of resources, we will be posting this webinar recording on our website as soon as possible. Marianne, thank you again for being part of this and for always being so insightful about the things that you're doing and in terms of how we can interact together. I will turn this over back to Laura, and thank you all.
Thanks,
Thank you, Marta. I do want to take the time and draw everyone's attention to a webinar that we're doing this time next week. So next Thursday, 1 to 2, same time as today's. And it's called A Realistic Look at Elder Mediation. We've had so many inquiries around mediation, particularly elder mediation. So we've invited Julie Gill, and she's going to do a real hands-on, realistic look as to what elder mediation looks like. Julie Gill may have a little bit of a different perspective, so we want to get everyone's perspectives on board. And then what we're thinking is maybe draw out the series of mediation with a panel so we can continue this conversation. So everything will be available on our website, and also the free pilot program, the poster, we'll make sure that that's available on our website with the recording so people can download that and share it with their contacts. And then, of course, we are funded through the Ministry of Seniors and Accessibility, and we do want to encourage you to fill out the evaluation. We take all of your feedback very seriously and gear all of our upcoming webinars around what we're hearing from you. So please take the time. The box will automatically pop up when we're done this webinar. And last but not least, I do want to highlight the Senior Safety Line. It is managed by the Assaulted Women's Helpline. It's a very unique and valuable resource for not only seniors, but if you love a senior or work with seniors. It's available 24/7, 365 days a year. Upon request, it's available in over 200 languages. So please keep this number or give it to a senior that you think is at risk. And my contact information is right there for you. Please reach out if you have any questions, concerns. And I do want to take the time, Marianne, it was a pleasure to have you on board. You have this way about you that just sort of calms me. So on a personal level, thank you. And everyone that attended today, I want to take the opportunity to thank you very much and have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Wonderful. Thanks, Laura. Thanks, everyone.